should we time travel to go to Collision, the program that we actually look forward to watching out of all of them every week?
Well, while the mothership is here, why don't we hop on and we'll just go around the planet a few times and come back and Hulk Hogan style travel through time. We are in the future, miraculously.
God, I didn't know it would be so simple. It's got to be more difficult going into the past. Can we try that next week?
Yeah.
All right. Dope. So,
Dope in space.
was it Collision or was it more of a fender bender? What have they done to our show? Was it one of those nights last night, one of those crazy old nights when you find out, pretty mama, what turns off your running lights?
Randy Meisner didn't sing that song.
No, he didn't. They didn't have that show either. They didn't name that tune. What was going on with Collision last night?
Well, before we get going, was there anything you liked on Collision?
There was.
So there you go. You got something you liked. Let's start with the positives and work our way back.
There wasn't as much.
Did you get a promo you liked? Did you get a match you liked?
Well, yeah, I got one of each.
See?
Just barely.
This is 2023. That's a win.
All right. July 29th is the date of this thing. And again, they were at the Hartford Civic Center. And we got an email of someone who attended, and the only thing that they didn't mention was the attendance, was the crowd size. But I've been to the Hartford Civic Center. It was the site of WrestleMania 1995, right? It's got to be 15, 16,000 seats, right? I don't have my book in front of me. I could look it up, but it's a big fucking building. And what I saw was a very darkened upper deck, a stage blocking one end off. Why are they going to buildings this size if they're only filling a fourth to a third of the seats is what I'm asking. It's because at some point, it not only, it starts having a detrimental effect on the boys' confidence. When I remember the same thing happening when we went, Crockett was running sellouts almost everywhere, and then he started buying those territories, and we were either in Kansas City or we were somewhere in Florida or we were in the Mid-South territory, what was left of it, and there was a fucking fourth of a house, and we're And also people send the pictures around to make mockery of them on X or Twitter or whatever the fuck they're calling it today.
Hey, Jim, to answer your question, I have something here. Apparently this is from WrestleTix. AEW Collision at the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. According to this article, as of this morning, so as of, I guess, when the show ended, 4,763 tickets sold.
Okay, ouch. And the email we got from Nathan said that somebody at AEW must have gotten the message that their ticket prices were way too high and they've taken steps to correct it. I was seated near the hard camera in the second row of the stands behind the floor seats. My ticket was $50. Tickets higher up in the stands were as low as $20. And he says there were a lot more wives, girlfriends, children, and grandparents than you would typically see at an AEW show. Apparently, there's not a lot more of anybody than you would typically see. But somebody mentioned that WWE's deal with the building limited the time window in which AEW was allowed to promote and sell the event.
Oh, there you go. That's the WWE I know and love.
There you go. Also, Nathan says people were chanting for LA Knight and yelling his catchphrases all night.
What does that tell you about how over someone is when they're chanting their name at another company's show?
Well, and normally I would say these people are just confused and they think all wrestling is WWE, but you don't just stumble into an AEW show. You have to make a fucking firm commitment that you want to be there, right? And they did ROH matches before and afterwards. They keep the people in the arena entertained a little better in AEW than the WWE, where the talent in the ring just stands there mute. And then apparently MJF and FTR did a promo loving each other after they'd gone off the air. FTR or MJF put them over. They all toasted each other and had pizza and tequila.
That's paper. You know, you could have recycled it. You could keep it. You could do so many different things with it.
I'm going to burn it.
Why? Where?
I'm going to, in your backyard if you don't fucking leave me alone. So anyway, on Collision, July 29th, we had Elton John play. We had heard from Darby and MJF and Adam Cole and FTR about their situations tonight. Well, Darby's going to fight anybody. He doesn't know who he's going to fight yet. And then we start out with a ladder match between Andrade and Buddy with Julia Hart. And I like Buddy. Buddy's my favorite one of the bunch of them. I've mentioned that. Great physique, great athleticism, looks like he can work. Horrible name, lost in a group. Andrade has been good lately. Looks like he's in shape, making a commitment. So they got to put him in a fucking ladder match that we see constantly, everywhere, all the time. I thought this show was different, but perhaps I'm thinking they'll have a ladder match instead of the WWE or rest of AEW style 6 ladder matches or 6 ladders in the match and furniture and tables and chaos and Volkswagens. No, they didn't. There were multiple ladders around the ring, and of course, they've got to get Andrade's mask that he wears to the ring and then takes off of his own volition. But they stole it, and he wants it back, so somehow, instead of just going to goddamn local authorities, they've agreed to hang it up over the ring. So they started back and forth. It was a slobber knocker, and they were fucking laying it in. And I would have liked to have seen a match between these two guys. But within a very short order, Andrade slid 3 ladders in the ring and started setting them up. So, of course, Buddy had time to take over. But then they started trying to kind of have a wrestling match, but the ladders are all in the way, so they couldn't take any bumps or do much. And then they started hitting each other with the ladders. And then Buddy rolled out on the floor selling his left arm and went to see the doctor, and that's their break spot. But when they came back, and for the rest of the match, apparently his arm was not broken. So are they allowed now to just jump out and go see the doctor if they think they're hurt in a fight? Can you do that in the UFC? Hold on, you kicked my head in here, so I'm just going to hop out of the cage and go check with the doctor. They're in commercial anyway. I'll come back and keep fighting here in a minute.
I think they did say, what did they say, that they adjusted his shoulder during the commercial break?
Yeah, I'm adjusting something right now in their honor.
Uh-oh.
So anyway, then they came back from the break, and Buddy was bashing Andrade into everything on the floor and then pulled another ladder out from under the ring. They already had 3 or 4 around the rings. They pulled another ladder out from under the ring and set it between the apron of the ring and the announce desk. And then they got up on the apron and did the deal where they fight, in quotation marks, teasing that somebody's going to fall on the fucking ladder in a contrived fashion, way past the point where you just get it over with. And then finally, they both fell on the ladder. And it looked like it about killed both of them. And then Buddy pulled out a table. A table in a ladder match. Why didn't they just have a table match? And he put it in the ring, and I started fast forwarding. And then I see them up on the ladder, so I stopped thinking, well, maybe they're almost at the finish here. And Andre did a sunset flip power bomb on Buddy off of a ladder on the floor onto another ladder propped onto, I don't know. I said, fuck it, I'm done. Zipped for, there were handcuffs and bolt cutters, and Andre climbed the ladder with Julia Hart on his back, and then he pushed her off onto Buddy and got the mask. And we were 23 minutes into the program before this fiasco had come to an end. You can see that on any television program, wrestling program, on the air anywhere. You can see this shit. See the ladders and the tables and the goofiness. Collision has been setting a different tone. It's something that the Mid-South wrestling fans or the Mid-Atlantic wrestling fans in the Carolinas, Virginia, the Mid-South area could tune into and enjoy and watch and respect and not laugh at and make fun of.
You know, coincidentally enough, what set that tone, one of the things that did, was Andrade versus Buddy Matthews having a singles match. Because it was two guys, one guy you hadn't seen in a long time, one guy had been used like crap on Dynamite, and they had a kick-ass match, went a while, got the fans into it. It's one of the first matches ever on the show.
That's right.
And now we went to Dynamite. That's the problem. You don't want... I'm not saying you can never have a ladder match or anything, because this is modern wrestling, you can't be stupid, but over this mask that another guy in the group stole, and he's not even there, and like, why? This is like an unnecessary, let's rush to a ladder match in my eyes.
But if you're going to have a ladder match, why can't somebody actually have a ladder match now in some company? A ladder match. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon still had the fucking best one before they started changing and modifying and got a budget, added more ladders and blah, blah, blah. Put a ladder out on the floor. And the first one that can get the ladder and set it up and get the fucking, usually a belt, maybe a check. Masks are a little, now we're getting a little ha-ha. Wins the fucking match. There's no furniture involved because you've already got a gimmick. You're not putting a hat on a hat. And you don't need 6 ladders because you can only climb one at a time. That was the ladder match. That made sense. You could work that. You could still have a wrestling match and still do that shit. But you can't with all of this gaga. It's fucking ridiculous. And the bumps, the power bomb off the ladder onto another ladder was not the finish. They hadn't even got to the handcuffs and the bolt cutters. The fuck?
But that was the problem. I asked you at the top of this review, did you get a good promo? Did you get a good match? We did. But there were a lot of elements of Dynamite on this show. A lot of things that just felt like they didn't need to be here.
Then, speaking of Dynamite, they go to the back, and Miro is going to have a backstage interview, and before he says a goddamn word, Solo, not Sikoa, but Aaron, shows up and hits him with a fucking chair, and he just turns around and beats the shit out of Aaron Solo. And I wrote, I think Tony Khan showed up tonight. What?
That's what we needed from Miro to reintroduce him to the fans. A feud with QT's people. Are you kidding me? Even though Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs has potential for something, unless it has all of the QT faction involved. Where was this guy with the chair that he just walked right in and whacked Miro?
Within seconds of he just materialized there. And besides that, this can't be a feud because Miro has already been picking his teeth with people that are bigger and more impressive than fucking Aaron Solo. So, anyway, next, Darby Allin had said he wanted to fight anybody. And it was a surprise to everybody when out came Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Grandpa Suzuki.
Surprise!
And so, here comes this fucking Japanese Fabergé egg that everybody is afraid to fucking touch for fear they'll either hurt him or he'll kill them because he's real. But he looks the farthest thing from real because he's broken down and everything he does looks phony and he doesn't sell anything because he's supposed to be tough, which he is really, but he doesn't show it because he looks ridiculous. So, and since these fans like him, now Darby, one of their most sympathetic underdog baby faces, is wrestling a guy that they don't want to boo. So Darby jumpstarts the match with a drop kick And then the bullet dive to the floor where he went right past Suzuki and landed on his own head. And then got right back up. And then he sits Suzuki in a chair on the floor, bites his head, drop kicks him off the apron in the chair, and then throws him in the ring. And then the referee rings the bell to start the match. And I wrote, why is Darby Allin working like the Sheik? Why did he's biting the guy on the head? He's fucking jumping him before the bell. He's fucking using all. And then again, working with Suzuki is like working with a corpse in the advanced stages of rigor mortis. He can't even fucking bend. And all he does is make faces and not sell anything that Darby hits him with. And so all of Darby shit looks fake also because he's afraid to really hit him hard because he's a legend. And so it looks ridiculous for a cool young babyface to be being manhandled and trivialized by this immobile 50-something-year-old guy. Just a guy. He just looks like a fucking guy with a weird haircut. And then they did the thing where they stood there and allowed the other to hit him. But Suzuki not only wasn't selling, wasn't even registering, wasn't even flinching. But every time he would hit Darby'd go down. And then finally, Suzuki gets a fucking sleeper, and Darby rolls backwards 1, 2, 3. And he barely beat an AARP member that looks like one of those old goddamn Stretch Armstrongs who got left in a hot attic. Your thoughts?
Well, after all that, I don't even know what to say. There was a few new ones there. I was surprised. They got me with the surprise. I mean, I would think if they had him here in the States and they were big fans of New Japan, you may want to announce that kind of person would be there to get more people than, 4,000 plus into the building. I don't know how many.
Do you really think it would have made a legitimate, significant difference?
It may cause a few fans to get in a car from New York and drive up. Yeah, of course. A significant difference? I don't know. But I am someone who used to like Minoru Suzuki, and I think he rides a lot on the nostalgia that people feel for what he was or what his reputation is or what they imagine he is. But a lot of the same stuff like that I hate about Moxley is with Suzuki. With Suzuki, it makes a little more sense. He's an older guy. But like just I know he's a badass, but when he stands there and he throws the forearm, it looks like crap.
Yes.
And I know stuff that looks like crap hurts sometimes. It looks like it doesn't hurt either.
Yes. So no, this is not one of those old timer, looks like shit and hurts. It looks like shit and looks fake. So how old is Minoru Suzuki?
How old do you think he is? How old do you think he is?
I'm going to say he's got to be 52.
55.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a new one. Not ha.
Oh. All right. And you were there and you saw him. Bullet Bob Armstrong. When he was 53 years old. And he was working the big matches in Smoky Mountain Wrestling against Terry Funk or against whoever the fuck he was working with.
Wow, that's crazy. He was only 53?
He was younger than Suzuki is now, but his fucking arms were 22 inches. His chest was massive. And you mean to tell me that can you honestly, having seen Bob Armstrong at that age and Minoru Suzuki right now, Armstrong looked like he was 30 years younger.
I don't know if I'm going to say 30 years. That's a big...
How about 15?
Maybe. I'm surprised. I actually thought
How about Bob Armstrong looked like he could kick the shit out of the current Minoru Suzuki at the same age?
I never thought about Bob Armstrong's age back then other than he was old. And to hear you say this now, I thought, without thinking about it, I would have thought he was in his 60s back then. I didn't realize he was only in his 50s.
Okay, hold on. He was, boom, 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 6, 7, 40. That would be. Yes. Yeah, he was like 52.
Wow.
because he and Terry very close, the same age.
You know, sometimes it's hard to believe just how long ago it is. I guess that's what's throwing me off just in terms of these ages. Wow.
Well, anyway, so it's not the age, it's the person. And I'm not being ageist. I'm saying if you can't do what you're supposed to be doing better than this guy is doing it, you shouldn't be on national television.
Here's the other thing, to go back to that email you were talking about earlier. Hartford, Connecticut, you know, again, even though it's a national promotion, every area is different and every fan base is different. Look at the reactions FTR has gotten at different places recently. But with Suzuki, if this audience really had grandparents, girlfriends, families, kids, and this guy who's barely on their TV show just all of a sudden walks out, they don't know who he is. They have no idea who he is.
They think he's a Japanese cowboy because he's bow-legged. Anyway, the next match was Samoa Joe fighting Gravity.
I like this. I did like this. Gravity.
It was a good win for Joe, 3 minutes or whatever, if that, muscle buster 1, 2, 3. And again, I think guys should get good, especially badass, dominant guys like Joe should get good wins. And it didn't help this show because it hadn't been that great so far.
It was interesting, though. We first heard about this guy because he worked a Ring of Honor pay-per-view and he beat, I think, Commander. And then they brought him to Dynamite and he lost the Pac. Didn't look that spectacular. Here, Joe just killed him. But anytime he did anything, the fans rejected it. You know, again, we're talking about different fan bases. AEW fans, most AEW fans, I think, may be different there. Even though they like Joe, they wouldn't just boo if someone did something to him. These people wanted Joe to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Third match in AEW.
So the law of gravity was repealed very quickly. And then finally, 50 minutes into the show, Tony Schiavone was in the ring like Mussolini. About goddamn time. Here came Punk to the ring, carrying his bag in his hand. And he got the Punk chance. Connecticut likes stars, California likes kids. But there were booers also. He played with some of them. He stopped Tony from asking his questions so that they could hear the boos settle in. And, he made a remark, and I realized he was the first goddamn human being on their television to mention Wembley Stadium, wasn't he? We've been following this on the internet.
I hadn't realized that, and until he said it, I'd never realized that no one had brought it up because we've been talking about it, but it's an interesting thing, isn't it?
And it's been on the internet, and it's been reported on Twitter and on all the wrestling sites, and we've talked about it because they've talked about it, but they've never actually, have they even had the announcers on the show say, hey, by the way, we're running a show and we've sold 70,000 tickets.
Isn't this Vince's biggest dream, to sell all these tickets without announcing any matches?
Yes. And it'll never happen again, probably in history ever going forward for any wrestling promotion, that you would sell this many tickets for a show this far out. They don't even know what they're going to fucking see yet.
Yeah, no wrestler could say they're a drawing card here.
Unless they do WrestleMania and do it in such a building where they can sell more tickets. I don't see that's ever going to fucking happen again, but nevertheless.
Wembley Stadium 2 nights. That's how it'll happen.
Oh, there you go. And Jesus Christ. And then it'll be 5 hours a night. All right. Well, speaking of which, let's get back over here to Mussolini.
In the afternoon, but yeah, go ahead. Well,
that's better, at least. So he mentioned Wembley and then started talking about Ricky Starks and how he's cheating. How he's cheated or beaten, one or the other. Beaten Punk twice by cheating. And Punk said sometimes you got to wake up and do what you don't want to do because you're the responsible adult in the room. And so he's brought the bag out. And what's in the bag? I'm not no more Mr. Nice Guy. Pulls out the AEW belt and declares himself, and we knew this was coming, and it's obviously the natural thing to do. he declares himself the real AEW World Champion. I beat Jon Moxley for this, and nobody has pinned me or submitted me since then. I'm the real champion. This is mine. And he sprayed the black X on the belt as the symbol that he's straight edge, and that means he's better than you. I wonder who else says stuff like that. So that's
minor threat. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's obviously what they're leading to, because that's what everybody wants to see eventually, but it's subtle and it'll take a while. But he's the real world champion. What were you going to say?
Nothing. Did you notice that he put the X over the E, which is elite, so it's now all X wrestling.
Anyway, here comes Ricky Starks, and it was cute. He came out on his own, but then he stopped and called for his entrance music so he'd get his full entrance like a heel would do. Or maybe even a cocky babyface. And then Starks comes to the ring and says that Punk would have done the same thing that he did. He would have cheated. He would have won the thing by any means necessary, whatever. And he thinks, Starks does, that the belt ought to be his because he beat Punk twice, so he's the real world champion. And they argued back and forth and agreed finally they're going to settle this thing. And Punk said, we got to have a special referee to make sure I don't get jobbed again, by the referee missing some shit if I'm going to defend the title against you. And Stark says, okay. And then they shake hands on it. And next week in Greenville, South Carolina, the special guest referee is going to be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I'm waiting for you to cheer. Yay.
I'm supposed to cheer? All right, Dragon. No Bonnie. Yeah.
My Bonnie lies over the ocean.
My body lies over the sea. I can keep going.
My body lies over the lawyer. Bring back half my money to me. So it's Greenville, South Carolina. Steamboat's going to be over like crazy, and he's in shape, and he'll move around and do a good job. And I'm pretty sure Punk is going to retain this thing. And so at least we got a little special attraction there next week. And that was the promo segment that you mentioned, or that you asked me if I liked. And I said, yeah, there was one. And that was it.
I thought it was great. You wait for stuff like this. You wait for that kind of energy. Punk gets this weird energy now in every room he's in. Sometimes there are more Punk fans. Sometimes there are more Punk booers. It's always energetic. He excels in this kind of environment for a promo better than most people, and it feels more real, more like genuine anger or frustration coming from someone. The belt thing, we'll see how it plays out. If it leads to an eventual merger of the World Championship, which you would think that's where they were going, it makes sense. If not, it's the new FTW Championship, so we have to be careful there.
I don't think he's going to bring out the new FTW or FDW or FDR.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to bring that one out. He wouldn't bring it out unless it was going to be central to the ongoing situation.
Beyond all that, I thought the story was Ricky Starks did great as a heel, even though, it's a mixed audience. I thought he was more heel than anything else. Going back and forth with Punk, it worked, and he worked standing there with him, and that's one of those things you look for. How does it look and how does it feel when they're standing there doing a promo back and forth? And I thought it was great.
Yeah. So we got that. Now we're over an hour in, and the next match is Darius Martin, Action Andretti, and Vikingo against the Gun Boys and Juice Robinson with a cardboard cutout of Jay White. Did he miss a plane? What happened?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, the heels won here. Surprise, surprise. And then Mercedes Martinez wrestled Kiera Hogan. And I wrote, it's a rib now. Please bring my show back to me. And then the main event for the tag team title, FTR against MJF and Adam Cole. And I think I think we've made mention plenty enough. I'm a fan of all four of these guys in some form or fashion. I'm not a fan of this issue that has brought them all together. Is that a fair just summation?
That is.
Okay. And when they have dueling chants going back and forth, I think back, and would Dusty Rhodes have put the Rock and Roll Express in a position in the Greensboro Coliseum that one fan in that arena would be tempted to boo them, unless they were just an asshole and we're going to do it no matter what. I've even seen some comments on Twitter that, they think FTR is the heel team. Well, actually kind of not, because FTR has been the ones that they cheer for and chant for months now and get big pops and want to see in matches until they've been put in a position to be opposite the ring from the world champion, who is a heel, but has suddenly, for the purpose of this exercise, become the most pandering babyface and entertaining personality in the whole company. And Adam Cole's along for that ride because he's, the straight man. And so FTR are the baby faces, but the heels in this equation, the half heels, are still the baby faces over the baby faces who are now becoming the unpopular people because the fans booed the babyface tag team for blocking the illegal double clothesline from the other team. So this is just it. They've got them all in such a fucking state where nobody is reacting to people in either company the way that they ought to be to put this match together and make anything fucking work.
I think FTR are the heels here. FTR worked like heels. FTR got booed.
Yes.
FTR are working with the top babyface tag team right now.
And one half of the top babyface tag team is the top heel.
Yeah.
And MJF works the people like Hogan, and it's fucking cute. I don't know, but there was wrestling and there was Gaga. MJF and Dax did some wrestling, and then MJF did the leapfrog, hurt the leg, fake out spot. And then when he took over, as a result of that, he milked kicking one of the babyface team in the balls, and the people were, oh yes, do it, kick him in the balls. And then their break spot was tempers flaring and everybody shoving everybody. And they got some heat on MJF, and MJF hit a better hot tag than any babyface that you see in modern wrestling, because he knew he had to drop both the heels, but be unable to capitalize and then duck and dodge and dive and get it. And Adam Cole made the comeback, and they went back. They all started going back and forth with the false finishes. FTR hit the superplex splash for a 2 count. Dax let Adam Cole tag MJF because he wanted him in there so they could do the slug and chop fest, and a nice back and forth. And then MJF kicks Dax in the balls, and the place comes apart. Yes, he kicked him in the balls.
Well, they were chanting for that earlier.
Yes.
So they finally got what they were chanting for.
Kick him in the balls. They used to chant that all the time to Tully, right? Kick Magnum in the balls.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Baby Doll.
No. He couldn't kick Baby Doll in the balls. Baby Doll would have beat his ass for it.
Well, plus she was too tall. He couldn't.
That's true. When he was younger, he was more limber, but anyway, finally, they're ready to give the Shatter Machine, Big Rig, whatever they're calling it this week, to Adam Cole, but MJF pushes Adam Cole out of the way and foils the Big Rig, but gets rolled up by Dax, 1, 2, 3, and FTR retains, and then there's MJF in the fucking corner. And Adam gets up and shakes hands with FTR, and he's fine, but MJF's in the corner crying that he blew it. And he's screaming, I blew it, I ruined it.
What was he? Was he saying I lost the match or I lost my
Yeah.
edge? I couldn't
No,
tell.
I lost the match.
Okay.
I lost the match.
I haven't played it back, but I couldn't tell. I
Yeah.
actually thought the first time I heard it, you said I lost my edge, which makes
No,
sense
he
too.
still works for the other promotion. He won't be in for a couple of years. So, but he's crying and he's, I blew it. I lost the match. And Adam comes over and consoles him and hands MJF's world title belt. Here you go. Here you go. You got this. And then he turns his back on MJF. And MJF stands up and looks like he wants to hit Adam Cole from behind. And they've got the artistic camera shot. So you're looking at from Adam Cole's face and over his shoulder to MJF behind him with that belt. Should I? He's thinking about it. And Adam says, go ahead, do whatever you need to do. He just puts his arms out. And MJF throws the belt down, and they both hug to big cheers from the audience.
Wrestlers don't like when other wrestlers steal their finisher. Should the best friends be upset right now?
No, because they're not wrestlers. But should we be upset that how long is this going to go on? That is they've rerouted the fucking AEW river here. And this is
that is the greatest way to look at it that I've heard.
Well, yes, they've completely rerouted the river. They've taken the world champion and put him in a tag team thing, but to either get to or swerve into joining him, Adam Cole. But Adam's going to look like a dipshit if he does get turned on. And in the meantime, MJF is the most popular person in the company. And he's supposed to be the one who's supposed to draw money against all the top baby faces. So I don't know what's going on.
I'll say something that I didn't think I would say a while ago, but watching the way things have played out, which is very different than how things played out after All Out, for instance. I think they should ride MJF as a babyface right now. That's what he is. That's the reactions he's getting. He's selling merch. I know it's always been a popular WWE metric to look at. I don't know if AEW pays the same kind of attention. But if you have this moment right now, and we said it last time, and luckily a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it, but you don't want him to turn back and forth too many times.
Right.
And right now, whatever they were going to do with Adam Cole, and maybe this was their goal, maybe it wasn't. But this is the reaction it's gotten. And you're getting the fans going crazy during their matches, chanting things. I think you got to ride this. And I think also, this match reminded me in a lot of ways of Midnight Express versus Wyndham and Flair at Clash of Champions. Because in this match you had, no disrespect to Adam Cole, but he hasn't been active too much. And also, we need to see a little bit more right now. But between MJF and Dax and Cash, you have three of the best workers in the entire business.
Well, and also you have a tag team specialist against two primarily singles guys. So that was a comparison also, but I see where you're going.
But the best in-ring talent in the business, the smartest in-ring workers in the business in there together. And I thought it was a great match. And I think, again, the fans are going to react like this. If the booing of FTR stops once they're done with this and they move on to something else, then you do something else. But the other thing you got to pay attention to, and I've been saying it, FTR, I think it better situated as heels. And I think it may be becoming something that's forced upon them too, but we'll see.
Well, but then does Gin and Juice have to switch babyface because we still want to see more FTR and them?
We need the third match. We need the third match.
Yeah,
that's right.
And who else does FTR have to work with in main event world title tag team matches?
What other
teams?
What other teams are there? Proud and Powerful.
Who? What?
Santana and Ortiz.
Okay, probably not right now.
Look, the Young Bucks isn't going to happen right now, and obviously, why would it happen right now? The Best Friends, no.
Baby faces or heels.
Aussie Open.
That we really want to see that's going to draw some money or get some viewers.
There isn't a good tag team division. There are good top people in AEW in various places, but there aren't good divisions in any place.
So that's what I'm saying. Maybe they could turn heel, but are they going to have anybody to work with if they turn heel? They shouldn't just turn heel for the sake of doing it.
I agree with that.
So there needs to be jealousy on their part from another team that may come in and steal their thunder. But that'd be MJF and Adam Cole, but they can't turn heel on those guys because they already. And besides that, MJF either has to keep the world title or become a tag team guy. And
again, we don't know how Roddy gets involved with everything with MJF and Cole. If Roddy joins them and we have at least 3 people in that group, then you kind of have some leeway about what happens there. Although the fans want to see Cole and MJF. So they booked themselves into a pickle.
Well, in the end, he's already promised him he's going to give Adam a match. So something's going to happen there. But how does anybody come out of this is what I'm saying. And it's all happening. It's sort of like they were wheeling the wheelbarrow downhill, and now the wheelbarrow is wheeling them. They're going with it, but it's not what they intended to do originally. I wouldn't think.
And one more thing on FTR. FTR came out of a great 2022 in those matches with the Briscoes specifically. And the thought from a lot of people was, what now? And then, of course, the tragic accident with Jay Briscoe. Obviously, that affected them too. But then they got put into that awful feud with Jeff Jarrett and his crew. And that did no one any favors. Since that time, they've reestablished why they're the best tag team in wrestling. The gin and juice stuff. And then even this match. This match was fantastic. This match was great and had the crowd going crazy. So FTR are in the middle of another tag team of the year kind of run.
We just need to figure out where all these people are going. What happens when this is over? You know what? If we could put the bloodline on Collision and keep MJF and Punk and FTR, we'd have a show.
When's Wembley?
End of August, correct?
It's the end of, okay, we're about to hit August, so I didn't know if it was mid-August. I don't remember. They never talk about it, so I didn't know when the date of it was.
Well, they don't want to show off. That's the thing. They don't want to brag or anything. They're humble and unassuming and lovable characters over there. They don't want to brag about their big exploits.
Hey, before we wrap things up, which I figure you're probably going to do momentarily.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this your show? I'll tell you when I'm wrapping things up. I'm ready to wrap things up. What would you like to say?
With Wembley having sold all these tickets, what kind of card do you put on? Do you put on dream matches, or do you save them now that you don't need them because you don't need them to sell tickets? What do you do for that show?
Well, I wouldn't have put on dream matches to begin with. I would have tried to come up with, in my mind, the 8 or 9 best matches in terms of my main event talent and who they would be most interesting and would draw the most money, sell the most tickets, or get the most interest of viewership, however they're going to be broadcasting this thing. And I would, like Dusty did Starrcade, or like Watts did a Superdome, or like Vince did a WrestleMania. My main guys, my big top talent in big matches that I can take 2 to 3 months to build, because that's when they announced it a couple months ago, right? And I wouldn't have worried about whether it's going to be goddamn 7 stars in the ring. I would worry about whether I wanted a main event world title to change hands, or a big happening with one of my main stars to take place. And I would put it on that show. And I would have that happen in front of 80,000 fucking people and have it on video that it did. You're not just, even if you've sold the tickets, you can't sell out a pay-per-view. You can't sell out a live television special. How are we going to watch this? I don't fucking know. But if you got 80,000 people in a goddamn stadium watching your show, you better broadcast it around the world some way or another, because that's the ultimate look how big my dick is moment. So I would want all my top guys in the best matches for my future programs, my future business, who I want to get over, who I want to be working with. and not worry about whether I can bring in Hiroshi Whistleblower to have a dream match with fucking, the law of gravity and fucking Generator Pete. So that's what I would do. Like any other big show in history, just in front of more people.
You don't think Generator Pete and the Law of Gravity would be kind of a conflict as a tag team? Different styles and...
I think it is a clash of styles. I think that's why they should go back and work Impact some more to get their shit together.
Generator Pete.
Generator Pete.